In a remote village, an ominous shadow loomed over the land, casting perpetual darkness upon its inhabitants. This curse descended upon the village years earlier, following the wrongful execution of an innocent fisherman. The villagers, consumed by rage and suspicion, accused the fisherman of a heinous crime he did not commit. Their blind fury led them to commit an unforgivable sin, and in their fervor for justice, they condemned an innocent soul. The gods, enraged by this gross injustice, punished the villagers by enveloping their land in eternal night. Attempts to flee to neighboring villages ended in mysterious deaths, trapping the villagers in a cycle of fear and despair. As each day passed, the weight of their guilt grew heavier, and their once bustling village became a desolate place. They longed for the gods' forgiveness and a return to the light that seemed forever lost. In the village's outskirts lived a young girl named AYOLA and her mentally ill mother. AYOLA never knew her father, a man who had taken advantage of her mother and vanished, leaving her to face the harsh world alone. Daily, AYOLA ventured into the village to beg for food, but the villagers, disdainful of her mother's madness, showed her no kindness. She scavenged through market trash bins after traders had departed, finding only rotten, maggot-infested scraps. Yet, AYOLA remained devoted to her mother, caring for her despite their dire circumstances. She often wondered if their lives would ever change, but she clung to the hope that one day, the darkness would lift. Each night, as the village lay in silence, AYOLA would dream of a world filled with light and laughter, a stark contrast to her reality. One fateful day, AYOLA's mother fell gravely ill. Desperate and frantic, AYOLA rushed into the village, pleading for help, but her cries went unanswered. The villagers, hardened by years of living in fear, turned a deaf ear to her pleas. She sought the village herbalist, hoping he might show some compassion, but he dismissed her, unwilling to aid a madwoman. Heartbroken, AYOLA knocked on doors, begging for assistance, but the villagers turned her away. Defeated, she returned to the forest, weeping beside her ailing mother, feeling more alone than ever. As she sat there, she whispered prayers to the gods, hoping for a miracle. Amid her sorrow, AYOLA heard a whistle and called out for help. A young man emerged from the forest, administering herbs that sent her mother into a deep sleep. He assured AYOLA that her mother would recover, his gentle eyes filled with empathy. Intrigued by their forest dwelling, the young man handed AYOLA a magical stone, instructing her to give it to anyone who showed her kindness. He told her that this stone had the power to change their fate, but it required the goodwill of the villagers to unlock its magic. AYOLA clutched the stone tightly, feeling a glimmer of hope for the first time in years. For months, AYOLA continued her daily search for food, offering the stone in exchange for compassion. Yet, the villagers remained unkind, refusing to help. They saw her as a symbol of their own failures and misfortunes, and their hearts were hardened against her. She knocked on doors, visited shops, and even approached the village elders, but no one offered her any help. Each rejection felt like a blow, but AYOLA persevered, believing that someday, someone would show her the kindness she desperately needed. The villagers were preoccupied with their own struggles. The never-ending darkness had affected their crops, causing food shortages and leading to widespread hunger. Many fell ill, and the village, once known for its vibrant community spirit, had become a place of suspicion and sorrow. AYOLA observed this, her heart aching not just for herself and her mother, but for the entire village. She often wished she could do something to change their fortunes, but her own survival took precedence. One day, the village's chief priest received a divine message, instructing the villagers to embrace the light to end the darkness. Confused, the village chief ordered everyone to light fires around the village, but their efforts proved futile. The darkness seemed impenetrable, and hope began to fade. The villagers, frustrated and fearful, questioned the chief priest's guidance, but he insisted that they continue. Night after night, the fires burned, but the darkness remained, deepening the villagers' despair. Their prayers grew more desperate, and divisions began to form as different factions within the village blamed each other for their misfortunes. One evening, while scavenging in the market, AYOLA was accused of theft. The villagers, driven by cruelty and frustration, beat her until she lost consciousness. They saw her as an easy target for their pent-up anger and despair. She awoke in a small hut, tended by the young man from the forest. He inquired if she had given away the stone, and AYOLA sorrowfully admitted that no one had shown her kindness. The young man advised her to place the stone on her mother's forehead to restore her sanity, and to leave the village holding the stone, ensuring their safe passage. Overjoyed, AYOLA followed his instructions. Her mother regained her sanity, and together, they left the village, unharmed. They found a new life in a neighboring village, where sun Back in their former village, the darkness persisted. The chief priest, seeking further guidance, learned from the gods that the villagers had rejected their light. AYOLA, the embodiment of their salvation, had been spurned. The villagers' cruelty towards her had sealed their fate. Realizing their grave mistake, they searched for AYOLA and her mother, but they were never found. Thus, the villagers remained in darkness, a testament to the consequences of their unkindness. They continued to live in fear, their hearts heavy with regret, knowing that their salvation had slipped through their fingers. Time passed, and the village fell into further decay. The fields lay fallow, and the buildings crumbled. The villagers who once held out hope for the return of the light grew old and weary, their spirits broken by the relentless darkness. Stories of AYOLA and her mother became legends, passed down to remind future generations of the importance of kindness and compassion. The village elders, in their final days, would often speak of the girl who could have saved them, urging the younger ones to learn from their mistakes. The moral of this tale is that even the smallest act of kindness can have profound effects. Never underestimate the potential impact of compassion, for the person you help today might be the key to your salvation tomorrow. Small acts of kindness can ripple outwards, transforming lives and bringing light to even the darkest places. Always remember that in our darkest hours, it is our humanity and empathy that can lead us to the light. If you enjoyed this story, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment to support our channel. We'll see you in our next tale.